Hey Geeky Tigers, it's your friendly neighborhood art teacher, Mrs. Kirkpatrick, and in this lesson, we are going to marker print on aluminum foil. So to get set up for this, you need water-based markers like Crayola or Mr. Sketch, not permanent markers like a Sharpie. Water-based markers, you need a piece of aluminum foil, you need some water, and then you need something to print on. So I tried 3 different ways already. I tried to print on construction paper. I tried to print on printer paper and turn that into a card. And I took a flash card, an index card, and I printed on that. So I'm going to be showing you how I did all 3 of these. What I got to tell you about the way these turned out is that I really didn't like the way it turned out on my construction paper. Maybe that's just because of an unmet expectation, right? Sometimes we think it's going to turn out one way in art and it doesn't. So I was trying to put a bunch of warm colors into this artwork, and I was hoping to try and make it almost look like a sunset. I don't think this looks like a sunset at all. So it didn't turn out the way I thought. It could have been because the paper is yellow. It could have been because of the way I put the water on. Maybe I didn't put enough or I put too much. But it was just one of those things that I tried and it just didn't turn out the way I thought. It still is kind of cool. It just doesn't look the way I was expecting it to. So stick with me and take a look, and I will show you how I made all 3 of these aluminum foil prints. So here you can see that I started off with marker on the aluminum foil, and my original idea for this aluminum foil print was to make it look like a sunset on the yellow construction paper. So I started off with a horizon line, and I was just adding all of these sunset colors that I had picked from my markers. And the key to aluminum foil printing is to use a lot of marker. So I was trying to cover an area on the aluminum foil that was the same size as my paper. And I was trying to cover the entire area that I was going to print on top of with marker. And as I added more colors, I wasn't coloring on top of the other colors all the time, but it's okay if you do that. It's okay if you add one marker color on top of the other. These are going to blend together anyway with this printmaking technique, so the colors that are next to each other will unavoidably blend. It's one of the things that makes the finished prints look really cool. So here I was getting pretty excited because I had a lot of really beautiful sunset colors. They were looking pretty good on the aluminum foil. I thought it was going to turn out okay. So here I took my water and a paintbrush, and I did not paint directly onto the aluminum foil. I used the paintbrush to dip in the water and just sprinkle that water on top of all of the marker that I had already put on the aluminum foil. And I just was trying to make sure that I kind of dripped that water and sprinkled it evenly without making any huge puddles. I had a lot of tiny little mini puddles. And this paintbrush was a pretty big paintbrush. I would say it's a medium-sized paintbrush, and it just wasn't working that great, but I was trying to make it work. So once I had that water all covered, I took my paper and I placed it right on top of the area that had the marker and water. And then you can see there the water soaked through the construction paper almost immediately. And I just took some time to press and rub or burnish my paper to transfer the ink from the marker onto my paper. So I tried to cover all the spaces, because sometimes if you don't push every space, if you don't press it down enough, then the print doesn't turn out very well. So I wanted my print to turn out. I pressed everywhere, all the edges, all the spaces in the middle. And now I'm going to pull the print. And And there's the finished print, and I was so very disappointed with that one. It really didn't turn out the way I thought. Compared to all of the colors that I had put on the aluminum foil, I don't think they'd showed up very well. So I took a paper towel with some clean water, I cleaned off my aluminum foil and tried again. So this time I was printing on folded up printer paper for a computer. So I had 3 different types of paper that I was printing on with this aluminum foil process. And this is just a different type of paper, so I was hoping for a better result this time. I started off by setting it down and marking off where the corners were, just so I knew exactly where to put the marker and where not to put the marker. I was making sure the aluminum foil was dry before I put down some fresh marker. Just like before, I kept my shapes pretty simple, and my main goal was to use a lot of marker and cover all of the aluminum foil that I would be printing with. I decided to add some black marker in just because when you add water to black Crayola marker, a lot of times it's not nearly as dark as it is when you just draw with it on paper, and I thought it would make the print colors look a little deeper when it was done. It was time to add water again, and I grabbed my water in my same paintbrush, and as I was dripping the water on with this brush, I was thinking about the last print, which wasn't very successful, so I put the brush down and switched to using my hand. A lot of times our hands are our best tools, and I just dipped my fingers in the water and sprinkled it over my marker. When I started to see the colors swirling together, I knew that it was probably ready to print. Took my paper, lined it up, set it down, and then as I started to press and rub, the water made the paper seem like it was going to wrinkle. So I grabbed a paper towel that was sitting right next to me, and I used the paper towel to help me smooth and press the paper down into the aluminum foil and marker. And that was really helpful. Just like before, I'm trying to press over all parts of the paper, making sure I don't forget to do the edges, making sure I don't forget any part. And I pulled the print, and oh yeah, I was much happier with this print. I love the blend of colors. It could be a galaxy, it could be an ocean, it could be a map, it could just be abstract color. But I really like the way that one turned out. Much happier on printer paper than I was with construction paper. So now I'm ready to print my last marker print, and this was on a flash card or an index card. So a small piece of cardstock. And this is the type of flash card that has lines on one side and it's white on the other side. So I'm going to be printing on the white side. You might have noticed, oh there you can see I marked the corners again. You might have noticed I had a piece of paper, or not a paper, I had a piece of tape across that index card, and that's just so that I can have a part of that paper that's taped off that will remain white even after I add all of this marker color. So here I just did a simple line, a zigzag line, colored it in, lots of marker just like before, adding a second color. I'm trying to go in between all those spaces. I'm just coloring inside the area that I marked so that I know how big to make my marker area. Have my water. I'm going to use my hands because that worked really well last time. And I'm sprinkling and dripping the water evenly over my marker without making too much. I didn't want any big lakes, just little puddles, little drips. All right, I'm lining this up with the white side down. can see there, that's the side I'm not printing on. And I'm gonna use that paper towel again because I learned from last time that worked really, really well. So I'm pressing down and I'm rubbing the paper, rubbing the back of the paper all over to transfer the marker ink to the index card surface. Here we pull the print, boom. That turned out really, really good. So now I'm gonna take that tape, it was just masking tape, and carefully pull it off. The tape was making a resist, a place where the marker couldn't go. And I love it. The tape actually tore through the paper. You can see it has a very jagged, rough edge where that paper ripped, but I think it looks kind of cool. So I think this is something I can definitely use. And looking at that, I started seeing a shape of like this little cat. So I made my cat saying, "Oh, hi." Took me a few tries, but I finally got one that I really, really like. I hope you get a chance to try aluminum foil prints too.